my lovely hummingbirds. How's it going, everyone? On today's episode on pop culture here of Makeup and Motivation with your lovely host, Monroe. We are going to discuss the Met Gala. Yep, we're going to talk about the Met Gala today, y'all. It is May 1st. It is the first Monday of May. Happy tourist season if I haven't said it yet. But yeah, we're going to kick it off with a classic twist for today's episode. And I am going to be covering a couple other things, but first, let's get into the makeup look. And yeah, let's get started, shall we? Hi, my lovely hummingbirds. For today's eye look, we are going to use the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance palette on the entirety of this look. But we are going to kick it off with the raw Sienna on the upper brow bone and outer eyelid area. Once you've gone ahead and applied that, we're going to go in there with that burnt orange, and we are going to apply that to the entirety of our eyelid. I know, what? But they're so close together. Trust the process on this one, my lovely hummingbirds. Trust it. Now, once that's done, we're going to go in there with that gorgeous golden ochre, very beigey, very in theme with today's Met Gala red carpet and or beige carpet. We're going to apply that to our upper brow bone area. Once you fluff that out, we're going to go back in with that deep brown Cyprus Umber there, and we're going to put that on the inner crease of our eyelids, and you're going to make a wing shape. And trust me when I tell you, you are going to want to fan that out like a cat eye, because obviously we got to pay homage to Chapette with this look, do we not? Once that's done, you're going to go ahead with the Milani Summer Glow and apply that all the way to the very top of the upper brow bone area, highlight area, and really fluff it out so it gives a pearl iridescent look. In the meantime, I'm going to put on the rest of my face, but you can go ahead and follow me on all of my handles. And there she is. It's giving neutral. It's giving 1990s. It's giving, oh my god, I really want to be at the Met Gala next year. Anyway, my lovely hummingbirds, that is the look. If this is where you're leaving me, les mando mucha paz, muchos besos, y les recuerdo que miren hacia la luna, sending you much peace, many kisses, and reminding you to always look up at the moon. But if this is not where you're leaving me, then join me for today's topic of conversation, which is the Met Gala and Karl Lagerfeld, a line of beauty. Hello, my lovely hummingbirds. How's it going, everyone? On today's episode of Makeup and Motivation, here with your lovely host, Monroe, we are going to be covering the one, the only, the Met Gala. That is right. And I know you're probably looking at me like, bitch, why do you look like you could partially be on the next film set of the Men in Black? It's the sunglasses with the ring light and the reflection. I promise you, I'm not going to pull out a little thingy and just zap y'all. But considering Karl Lagerfeld once said that he feels very down to earth, just not this one, well, I guess the Men in Black look kind of fits the theme. Who is Karl Lagerfeld? Well, he is going to be one of the individuals that we will be highlighting on today's episode. But before we begin all of the Met Gala galore, we are going to take a moment of silence for the following individuals: Ben Moon, Len Goodman, and Jerry Springer. Please join me all in this moment of silence. Thank you all for joining me in that moment of silence. I greatly appreciate it. Now, let's get started, shall we? How's it going, my lovely hummingbirds? If you're wondering why I am out here with the with the white and the tie and the ponytail and the pearls. Well, today is the 1st of May, and the 1st of May, or more specifically the first Monday of May, marks none other than the Met Gala. What is the Met Gala for my non-fashionista babies out there, or any of those of you that don't know what the hell that is? Well, the Met Gala, it is a fundraiser for the New York Metropolitan Museum for their annual fashion exhibit in their Costume Institute section department, whatever you may call it. And essentially it is the fashion carpet of all carpets to be at every year. And it is one of the most famous red carpets for all. Essentially, the way that I view it, everyone that is really hot and happening at the moment. Anyone that is making some form of impact or really spoken about. And not just in the world of the fashion industry, but as well as all forms of art and media. Especially actors, singers. I know in the past few years we saw a heavy wave of influencers hitting the red carpet as well. It is the fashion show of fashion shows. Honestly, I love the Met Gala. And this is also why we're covering the Met Gala, because your girl is trying to be there one day, okay? I am trying to be on that carpet with Lala fucking hosting. I'm gonna have to watch my F-bombs, but that's okay. I'll do it for you, Anna Wintour. My craziness aside, the Met Gala was originally started, all of this, by Eleanor Lambert in 1948. Back then, a ticket to the Met Gala, because as I stated, this is a fundraiser, was only $50 for dinner and the carpet and a show and all of it. The price of the Met Gala today is a lot more than that. The price for a ticket to the Met Gala today is at about $50,000 a head. And mind you, my lovely hummingbirds, the Met Gala is also, as I stated, one of the most exclusive events, which means there is a guest list. You have to be essentially personally invited in order to attend, and it is a guest list of about 650 to 700 guests. And this is the most known of the known, the most hot and happening individuals, the ones that are really creating innovation, making waves in media, in news, in their respective industries and all of that. And it is a fashion show. The Met Gala started its themes in 1973, and it started celebrating its first Monday of May back in 2005, which is a whole 18-year-old now, with the House of Chanel, and Chanel being the sponsor. Yes, the Met Gala also has a sponsor every year, and there is also co-chairs along with the permanent chair, which is Anna Wintour. So Miss Anna Wintour is the chief and editor of Vogue, and she is the person that has the last say-so of how everything happens when it comes to the Met Gala. Her co-chairs this year were Dua Lipa, Penelope Cruz. Yes, I could not say Penelope Cruz. It's Penelope Cruz. Anyways, Michaela Cole and Roger Federer. Now, this year's co-chairs, as well as pretty much all the co-chairs, have the excruciating job. It's not that bad, I'm sure. You know, dramatic effects over here. It is the excruciating job of not only assisting with the guest list, the menu, and as well as the design, entertainment for the show, but also some hosting duties. And of course, they have to uphold the theme. As stated, themes were introduced in 1973. Now, This year's theme was Karl Lagerfeld, a line of beauty. Why is this year's Met Gala so important? Well, Karl Lagerfeld not only made a huge mark when it came to fashion, especially because he was the person that took over after a decade of Coco Chanel's passing, took over the Chanel brand and revamped their entire ready-to-wear line, plus their couture lines, and he was also a part of Fendi, Chloe, his own brand Karl Lagerfeld, and many more. But what makes Karl Lagerfeld so iconic, besides the very well-known black and white that was the entirety of his wardrobe, seemed like, honestly, and his signature sunglasses, fingerless gloves, love of pearls, love of Chanel, and love of fashion and innovation, he was also one of Anna Wintour's best friends, and it was very beautiful to see her pay an homage with the theme this year and everyone in attendance to Karl and his mark in fashion history, especially because he had a very classic, sleek, iconic look. And Karl Lagerfeld not only took over Coco Chanel as the creative director in 1983 until his passing from pancreatic cancer in 2019, he helped bring forward this sense of innovation when it came to fashion. Even though a lot of like his general aesthetic was essentially black and white, he went to these lengths of innovation with like the staples when it came to accessories, when it came to like some of my favorite looks from Karl Lagerfeld in his time in Chanel are the following. The 1992 fall couture show bride look done by Claudia Schiffer, which was the dress that Dua Lipa had today at the Met Gala, which she killed that look. In 1985, Linda Evangelista, the Chanel fall winter look that she had. 1990, Yasmin Gadi with her fall winter look. And honestly, like, Giselle Bundchen always fucking kills, right? You know, she's always slaying her looks. And she even got to wear the same dress that was designed for her by Karl, which, honestly, incredible. I mean, nothing beats a Chanel bride look, you know? Even though, you know, I have said el día que me case, I do want an Oscar de la Renta design look dress, but you know, a girl can have more than one dress on her wedding day, okay? Chanel, hear me out. But today marked, in my opinion, something that we haven't seen at the Met in a really long time. What does that mean? Well, the Met is obviously, as I stated, known as the red carpet of red carpets when it comes to fashion every year. But even though Karl Lagerfeld was known for a very simplistic style in fashion, to some degree, like, and by simplistic, I mean color scheme-wise, color palette-wise, I think the like most colorful thing he did was based off of, it was this one dress based off of a painter. They talked about it today in the Met Gala. But very, you know, he had a very monochromatic thing going on, right? And it was very interesting seeing all the looks that were created for tonight with not such a huge range of color. Like, obviously there were still people that went over the top because, well, would it be the Met Gala if you didn't? And a lot of the ones that were very over the top, of course, Doja Cat and Jared Leto, who both had cat inspired looks because of Karl Lagerfeld's love for his cat Choupette. And I mean, from the flowers to the chiffon to the pearls to all of it. It was just such a beautiful, 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 beautiful look across the board. Very classic. Everyone looked really freaking good. And even like everybody's hair was looking really good. Like there was not, at least not that I saw. Right, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but at least from what I saw, there was not a single fucking person in attendance at the Met Gala that did not slay their looks. Everyone was on point tonight. It was really well done. Cardi B killed that shit. Oh my god. She did so good. And then she like explained her outfit from head to toe, and I was just like, I love her. I love her even more now. But it was just a very... Oh, by the way, the Kardashians were in attendance. I know we were all like, oh my god, maybe they're not gonna attend because of what Kim did to Marilyn's dress. But nah, they were there. Of course they would be, especially since Kendall's start in the fashion world was in big part because of Karl Lagerfeld. And not only did Kendall experience his bringing her forward into the fashion industry, but so did many others, like Naomi Campbell, like Elle Fanning, Cara Delevingne, and many more. First off, also Naomi Campbell's look. Beautiful. We love Naomi Campbell. She is such a gorgeous and talented woman and model, and yes. Yes to all of it. A couple things, and this is very common. It happens no matter who you are, what you are, when you are producing a show. Sound systems do not always link up well, and I feel like that was one of the only things that was really stalling the broadcast of the Met Gala. Even on Vogue.com, it was like, you know, there was a delay essentially with the mics, but other than that, everyone did really good. I don't know about the energy. I mean, Lala's energy was on fucking point. The other two hosts, I'm not so sure. I don't know if it was like, you know, no one eats before they go, so that also can be an impact. But I just feel like no one can beat Keke Palmer's energy from when she hosted the Met. And that's just my personal opinion. Am I being a biased Chicago girl on that one? Slight. But everyone did wonderful nonetheless. The Met Gala is essentially a fundraiser, and besides that, because I haven't been in there, I can't tell y'all, and I'm pretty sure there's something of like you can't disclose, because there is no social media or press coverage allowed once inside for the actual dinner and show. Everything's very hush-hush. No one really gets told anything, especially not if it's your first time, of like how any of it works. On Vogue.com, you do get to see like behind the scenes of like the creation of the room and all of that, and honestly, it's amazing. I mean, the amount of work that it takes to put an event like this up. Ex-event planner, so I am just like, I eat the shit up, y'all. Like, I am for it. But yes, Karl Lagerfeld was described by everyone today as not just a big person into innovation when it came to fashion, when it came into life, when it came into just like growing as a whole. He was all about innovation, but he was also stated as being a very sweet, kind, and caring person, a gentleman, according to all of the models that were his muses that were in attendance. And honestly, I think that the homage that everyone paid to him was done very well. It was done very in such good taste. It was done very elegantly. I can't remember who had the dress. Oh my god, but I only saw the train, and on her train they had Karl's image, and I was just like, oh And then, of course, Vera Wang had Karl on the train of hers, and Emily in Paris, why am I blanking out on her name, on her dress as well. But overall, 10 out of 10 for the matte. Why did we go with this makeup look, you ask? Well, one of my favorite looks, as I mentioned, from Yasmin Ghauri in the 1990 Chanel fashion show, is very similar to this. No, I did not create this look tonight. This look I actually had done like 3 years ago now. I had created the look 2 years ago. What year are we in? 2023? About 2 years ago. And I was like, huh, that's a very interesting makeup look. When am I ever going to post this? And then, well, yeah, today happened. And I was like, wow. The universe, the way it works, preparing me without even knowing I was being prepared. Ain't it beautiful? Why am I saying all of this? Well, today's episode of Makeup and Motivation, we are also covering how going back to the basics, how going back to not just like staple pieces in your wardrobe like a white shirt, but also going down to one of the things, my lovely hummingbirds, that you need to remember on the road to living your, what does Brad Mondo say, most glamorous life? Living your most fashionista, your most chic, your most like fucking, I was gonna say glamour. I was gonna make up a word. Your most couture life, your most sexy life, your most confident life is simply to be comfortable being exactly who you are and emulating that forward. One of the things that was a really big theme and was like resonated across the entirety of the Met Gala was everyone was saying how the whole theme of the Met is essentially hearing what the theme is for the year and then running with it, but also adding your own personal twist and putting your personality into it. Of course, there is always flair, there is always drama, and like Anne Hathaway, there's always a want to just strike a pose, right? But you always put you into it. And one of the things that people stated about Karl Lagerfeld is that he always really tried to emulate the person that he was styling, not just the article of clothing that he was putting on them, which I think is something that is very incredible when it comes to fashion. I know that like so many times you guys have seen on runways, you'll see a dress on a model and you're just like, I get that you're modeling it, but it's like the dress isn't giving, right? Or like it's like I can see that but maybe not on you type of thing. And with Karl, he always made sure that the pieces worked with the person wearing them and the person wearing them worked with the pieces. So I think that was really, I don't know, I really like that. Also, he, of course, as with any person in the limelight, had his own set of controversies, like PETA being upset with him because of his use of fur and leather in Fendi, and he was like, well, I think it's a bit ironic to be so upset about using fur and leather in clothes when we live in a world that eats meat. And yeah, and then the one that I'm like, but knowing what we know now, was it really that controversial? He did a caricature of Harvey Weinstein and drew him as a pig. People said that like well, at the time it was anti-Semitic and it was all this stuff, and he was just like, no. Right? But now, knowing what we know now about Harvey Weinstein, did Karl Lagerfeld know something before we did? That's just me throwing my 2 cents into that. Pero other than that, he even went ahead as to stating that, like, his controversial persona, and this was like back in 2007, he was like, it's just a fucking persona, like, it's just a mask, it's just an act that he puts on, so to speak. One of the things that I found really interesting while I was researching Karl Lagerfeld, and I thought it was so, like, it was giving me Fran Drescher vibes, it was so funny, I was just like, I love that for him, was his insistent nature across his age, because he was born September 10th, 1933, but he would give so many different, like, dates. The most common ones that he would give would be like in 1935, I think, or in 1938, and in 2008 said that he was celebrating his 70th birthday when he was celebrating his 75th birthday, and I love that for him, I really do. He was like, you know, at some point he probably thought to himself, if I start lying now, they will never know. I'm gonna start doing that. But one of the things that I also saw that I found really interesting, and I'm probably gonna dig more into it next year when the Met Gala rolls around, is why the age change happened. So back in 2018, Anna Wintour decided that no one under the age of 18 could be in attendance at the Met Gala. I'm curious about that. I'm not saying I don't approve. I kind of do, especially just because, like, one, you know, curfews past their bedtime, but also I don't actually know what goes on behind the doors of the Met, and if she decided that no one under the age of 18, there's probably a good reason behind that. And all I keep, like, seeing in my head is this Triwizard Tournament in Harry Potter when Barty Crouch and Dumbledore are like, yeah, no one under the age of 17 can be part of the Triwizard Tournament. That's kind of what it feels like. But I'm curious as to why that is. Overall, I mean, who doesn't love Chanel? First off, right? And for the most part, everything that we know of Chanel for the entirety of our lives, beginning in 1983, has been in great part the influence of Karl Lagerfeld. They did mention today, they asked him, how were you so successful with Chanel? And he's like, I literally just took her favorite staples and made them modern. Because, like, the short skirt, Coco Chanel, was, like, nothing above the knee, and he was like, let's make it shorter, and I'm like, I love that. And so many things, as well as, like, changing the size of the heels, the size of the accessories, making them bigger or smaller, depending. Of course, in the 80s, shoulder pads were, like, a real big thing, so he definitely added that to the ready-to-wear line, and also, one of the things that I found really, like, so, going into Karl Lagerfeld's life, the reason for the big sunglasses and why he would always wear them, he said that wearing glasses saved him from going blind when there was an incident with a whiskey glass, and moving forward, he just always wore them to, like, protect himself, which I'm like, as a person that is constantly wearing sunglasses pretty much damn year round for, like, my own eye reasons, I feel that. I'm like, because if I don't have them on, I feel naked, so I completely understand. One of the other things, and this was a quote that they said during the broadcast for the Met Gala red carpet. The quote is as follows: sweatpants are a signal of defeat. You lost control of your life, so you bought sweatpants. And I'm like, damn. But out of like all of my favorite quotes, I will mention at the end, one of the other things that I found super interesting about Karl Lagerfeld was that he did collect about 300,000 books in his lifetime. And honestly, I feel a little bit better about my personal book collection because now it doesn't feel like that much. But also, that is so cool. I want to know what books he was reading. And it also gives me Beauty and the Beast vibes, which, considering he did the candlestick dress, I just think it's very fitting that he would have an entire wall-to-wall library like Beauty and the Beast. And, you know, a girl wants to go live in Paris too. Why not? So one of the other things about Karl was that when the time of his passing was coming around, one of the things that he had stated was that he didn't want any emotion around his death. He didn't want a funeral, none of that. He got cremated. He had his ashes spread very specific, like, secret places with his ex-partner and I think his mom. And so essentially, what better way but to send him off in a final show where they had his and Coco Chanel's faces emblazoned onto the chairs with The Beat Goes On, and all of the models, you know, that were his muses across the years and all that stuff. Not everyone, but a good chunk. They went ahead and walked with the pieces on, and even though, you know, he didn't want emotions, we are all human, emotions arise, and, like, you know, they were crying and people in attendance and all that, and I'm just like, should I be crying too? Like, that's, you know, losing a person, never easy. One of the things that I really liked were all of the bride looks, because as I stated, nothing beats a Chanel bride, and it was one of Karl Lagerfeld's most known looks. It was all of the brides, by the way, are iconic. And I don't know, I like it. I like him as a designer from everything that I have seen. Especially, like, you know how you usually end up finding something really icky the more you go down the rabbit hole. I can't really say that I found anything, which gives me a little bit of hope in humanity overall. But he was also very witty and, like, loved his cat, and I just think that's super fucking cool. Very down to earth. But Lagerfeld quotes. Besides being known for his hate of sweatpants, love of tweed, and, you know, changing the entirety of the Chanel made ready to wear lines, and the couture line, he's also known for saying the quote, "Don't dress to kill, dress to survive," as well as one of the things, and so, like, I have a few, okay, so I have a few different ones, besides, like, the sweatpants one, which I just thought was hilarious, especially, like, post-COVID. I think during COVID, we all got real used to dressing real comfy, right? One of the things that he said was, "I'm a fashion person. A fashion is not only about clothes, it's about all kinds of change," which I thought to be super interesting. And then, never use the word cheap. Today, everybody can look chic in inexpensive clothes. The rich buy them too. There is good clothing design on every level today. You can be the chicest thing in the world in a t-shirt and jeans. It's up to you. And we're going to get to my favorite quote at the end. But the reason that I bring those two up specifically, so as I stated, he really pushed himself to fashion his models in a way that emulated the person that was modeling, not just the article of clothing. And I think that's really amazing. Donatella Versace, don't come for me for saying amazing in congruence to fashion, but I think it really is very amazing. I think it's a really good mindset to have, especially because when he said that fashion is not just about clothes, it's about change overall. My lovely hummingbirds, this is makeup and motivation, and for today's motivation, as I stated, it's all about going back to the basics. What you wear, you know how the quote says, clothes make the man? What you wear is not the only thing that makes you, it is what's inside. And the person that you emulate forward, the person that you present yourself to be, and the person that you are at your core. Because eventually you can only wear a mask for so long before the upkeep of having to keep up and portray something you're not becomes too much and it crumbles. For this week, I really want y'all to take a good hard look and look at the places and spaces where you're not being you, where you feel like you can't be you, especially around certain people, and then look back and see why that is. Because if you're not being you and you don't have room to keep growing and keep learning and keep moving forward as your most authentic self, then baby, what are you doing there? Life, and I know I've said this on here before, and if you are new here, hello. You're probably going to hear me say this a lot of times. Life can be a very simple thing, but humans are complicated. We complicate and we overcomplicate and we think and we overthink. And usually not with a solution in mind, but just to run ourselves crazy in circles. Get out of your own head. Get out of your own way. And allow yourself to change, to evolve, to grow, to be. And if you have to go back down to the basics, if you have to go back to what is simple, to recenter and refine yourself, then allow yourself to simply just be and do that and move forward. Because when you stop growing, you stop learning, you stop learning, you stop living. Nobody wants to do that. I would hope you wouldn't want to do that. Also, the sibling series will continue next week with covering the black sheep. That is it for today's episode of Pop Culture. I hope you enjoyed the creation of this makeup look. I personally love how it came out. My ponytail is just a ponytail. I don't know what to tell you there. I have a flower that looks like a camellia on the little part here on my ponytail because Chanel. But I hope that you guys go out there and live life as expensive as you possibly can within reason. But allow yourself to feel good. Allow yourself to be wooed and be wowed by all the beautiful things that life has to offer, starting with yourself and how you can be better and keep going and keep improving. Even if you just have to go back to the black and white of life. My favorite Karl Lagerfeld quote to end us here on today's episode of Makeup and Motivation, which was slightly chaotic, reads as follows. Improvise. Become more creative, not because you have to, but because you want to. Evolution is the secret for the next step. That is it for today, my lovely hummingbirds. I love you all so much. Thank you for tuning in today's episode of Pop Culture with your lovely host. Season 4. We have so many things coming up. I hope you tune into tomorrow's episode of A Grain of Salt, where we are doing a pick a card. And because I launched my Calendly, where you can reserve your very own personalized reading with me, we're going to do a business, money, career pick a card. So catch that tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I hope you watched the Met Gala. If you're into it, if you're not, let me know. Like, share, comment, subscribe, all of that. But as always, les mando mucha paz, muchos besos, y les recuerdo que miren hacia la luna, sending you much peace, many kisses, and reminding you to always look up at the moon. I love you all so much, and I will catch y'all on the next one. Bye, my lovely hummingbirds.